I thought I would record a video for we're getting close to my 3-month anniversary of moving to Phoenix. Earlier today I was responding to a subscriber. He said that my little gesture and my nickname for the Peter Schiff Show, which I really love, was a really big turnoff. And I gotta say that I got really comfortable with the idea of cussing when I first moved to Phoenix. See, my first week on my job and also just going out in public, people here in Phoenix cuss like a sailor. They don't give much thought on the little hand gesture either. And really bad table manners sometimes. You go to the food court at the shopping mall. It's nothing like going to a Seattle or I spent a lot of time in Taipei. Oh my God, Taipei, really good table manners, and they're also very religious to begin with, so that could be it. But here in Phoenix, it's very conservative, and it's kind of like a lot of waitresses think that Sunday is a really bad day to work there because right after they worship at their church, they go to the restaurant, they turn a 180, right, and give really bad table manners and give very, very bad tips. And that's kind of how it feels like here in Phoenix. So I got a little bit too comfortable with my nickname for the Peter Schiff Show. Actually, at the tutoring center where I work, one of my students is studying just personal finance. And I had him watch a video from the Peter Schiff Show. I chose a few videos that I thought were relevant. He went home and watched them. And the next day I said, you know, I have a little nickname for the Peter Schiff Show. And he says, I know what it is. Is it this? And he guessed it. And that's the kind of attitude we live with here in Phoenix, which is great. I love cussing. It helps relieve stress. You know, the last couple of days when I was recording those parody shows, and it really helped relieve stress. I was under a lot of stress these last couple of days because I'm the only person at the office now. Everybody's taking off for Christmas, and what's really funny is that our center director kept sending out reminders to go to the holiday party. I'm guessing because nobody wants to go, which would be great because I have anxiety toward loud environments. I kind of need to go because there's something I need to negotiate with some of the people there. And I think a Christmas party where everybody's relaxed and not really critically thinking would be a great time to bring up some concerns that I have. We'll have to see how it goes. It might be a flop, but you know what? It's better than nothing at all, and it'll be a Christmas spirit. Yeah, if the negotiations don't go too well, we'll come back in the new year. It was a big joke. You know, I was just kind of on a little bit of a contact high, right? I had we were in too much of a festive mood, so that's why I want to do the negotiations on Christmas Day. Now there was another bit of so I got a little bit of a culture shock with the idea of cussing, poor table manners. There was a little bit of another shock that I got when I first returned to the office, because I more or less work full-time now. Last year I was half and half, right? I got a little bit of a shock because I made a number of lifestyle changes over the last 2.5 years. I stopped binge eating, I started controlling some bodily functions, and when I got back to the office, I quickly realized that I had to rethink how I did some of these things because I had to integrate it into the work environment. Let me give you an example. I used to love to do 16 to 18 hour fasts. Now, the way I would do them was that I would eat my first meal at 3, 4 in the afternoon often, and then continue eating until 10, 11 o'clock. But that's the prime time for tutoring as well. And so I would get a shift that would be from 1 to 7, 1 to 8. And here in Arizona, it's not unusual to get a long shift like that with no meal breaks, or at least not formally, right? Sometimes the students show up a little bit late, you get a little bit of time, which is even more frustrating than not getting a meal break, because you got a student who's supposed to show up at 3, he doesn't show, and you start eating, and he shows up at 3:05. What do you do then, right? I've learned the hard way not to begin a meal if I don't know how much time I have. I need a hard limit on how much time I have, but that's another story for another time. So I get a schedule that goes 1 to 7, and I'm not especially hungry at 12:30, and it's a tough decision to make, right? Do I force myself to eat? And I learned the hard way not to do that, because if you force yourself to eat when you're not hungry, you're reconditioning your body to accept eating when you're not hungry, and that really didn't do too much wonders for me. And so I've learned the hard way to just allow myself to eat in front of the students, which I took very hardly, because first of all, it was kind of against our company policy, and second, I don't like it when the students eat in there, because I have some allergies and I have to remind them that to not get their food everywhere, and I used to not allow the students to eat there, but now that I eat there, it's kind of hard, and I just have to teach the students about food allergies, which sometimes the kids take well, other times they take offense, and then some students, you have behavioral problems, and as soon as you tell them about your food allergies, they realize they just brought a weapon they could use against you, right? And so it's a mixed bag. Most of the time it goes very well, though, I gotta say. Usually the very young students and the very old students, it goes very well with. It's those preteens who are just starting to discover their independence and might not realize the gravity of it all, that really can throw you sometimes. But so I had a little bit of a relapse with my eating disorder. Now, so I allow myself to eat in front of the students, but one day I get these two students who are studying Physics 1. They're best friends, and they're not only are they really good at what they're doing, but they're very talkative. I have to talk, and what should have been a 20-minute meal ends up taking me like an hour and a half to eat, which might not be the end of the world, but the whole time I'm salivating like crazy. It's really affecting, and also my food just tastes like cardboard. I gotta learn how to eat and talk at the same time without it ruining both, right? My mouth is salivating, my speech is impacted by it, and then my food tastes like cardboard. But at the same time, I can't skip that meal, because then it pushes. I have to drive after work, right? And I can't be in a state of mind where I'm not safe to drive at the same. I don't want to force myself to eat before I'm hungry either. It seems like it's kind of like a math problem that has no solutions, right? You got 4 equations on only 2 unknowns, and it just feels like that, right? So that's something I'll have to resolve in the coming months. Now, I also made a lot of connections at the art show. Actually, part of the reason I made so much bismuth art, which I showed earlier, I showed to Crystal earlier today. Part of the reason that I got so involved with the art was that I got so frustrated with work problems, with eating disorder problems, because I have to go to the office. I really wanted to quit the job at one point. I don't want to quit the students. I want to quit the logistics of the job. That's what makes it really frustrating. I don't hate the students. In theory, I also don't hate my boss either. I just hate the circumstances of having to deal with eating at the desk, of not having certain days off, and all that, right? Which makes it, the way I like to say it is, love the work but hate the job. I don't know how best, if you guys could have a word to describe it, feel free to leave a comment. But one day, I was talking to some church buddies. I'm not religious, but I go there to mingle with people. And he asked me to make a list of all the things I despise about my job. The first thing I put down was the scheduling. The second thing I put down was how sometimes you don't know the personal chemistries of people, what makes them tick, whether or not they'll be accepting of you, of your vacation plans. And so do you having to lie about my personal life to get what I want? I hate having to lie about personal circumstances. I really do. I hate having to lie, period. Having to lie, having to sneak food when food isn't allowed in the classroom because of eating disorder challenges, how it affects my sleep disorder, how I've pivoted from trying to quit masturbating. Now I'm only controlling it, not quitting altogether because of all the stresses and the logistics. And see, part of the reason I masturbate these days is to help me go to sleep. And in an ideal world, when I can sleep when I want, I wouldn't have to do that, right? I would just put up with tossing and turning. That's what I did last year, right? Anyways, when I listed all the things I disliked about my job, I didn't list any of the students or any of my colleagues. It was only circumstances that I listed. Oh yeah, I also had to change an air freshener that they were using because I'm allergic to it. I had to bring it up. And circumstances is what I listed. Not people, not subjects, not learning curves, nothing like that. They were all circumstances. And so I wanted to make a living pouring the bismuth art so that I could do the job my way and not have to worry about getting fired. And so after I had a frustrating day at work one time, I went home and I poured about 1,000 pyramids just out of frustration. And anyway, I don't know if this is the right phrase, but I love my work and hate my job. And feel free to comment on that. All right, so I begin my second season here in Phoenix. I hope to bend my situation at work a little bit over the coming weeks. We got the holiday party, which I think would be a great time, where the mood is relaxed and everybody is free to speak their mind. And if it doesn't go well, we can always turn it back. It was a holiday, drunken speech, right?